Good morning, friends, and welcome to the Wednesday LiveStream from Dulcimer Crossing. Today, we're going to take a look at, hide that one, and where we be prepping for online festivals. There are a lot of online festivals coming up. And the first one that is coming up is the Quarantine Festival. So let's first get Dulcimer Crossing up here in the Facebook side. Okay. There it is. Okay. So the Quarantine Festival is a festival that was the first major, many cast of thousands that happened last June as a way of responding to the pandemic crisis. The opportunity that arose is people began to see that they could participate in festivals that were beyond their personal location, that might not fit into their calendar, that could fit into their pocketbook better, and have access to instructors that they had would never otherwise be able to take instruction from. And so let me share my screen. Here is where you go. You go to virtualdulcimerfest.com or Quarantine 3.0 or Quarantine Virtual Dulcimer Fest or Quarantine Dulcimer Festival. Let me get my cover off the screen here. It goes from February 4th to 7th. It's set up in two separate ways. One is workshops, and the workshop registrations are available until Saturday. I have noticed that mine are about 75% sold out. There are still seats in several of the classes. Let me just mention which ones I've got the Mountain Dulcimer 135 tuning for playing jazz. There's still room in my Noter class, which is playing the traditional Noter style in DGD tuning. I have a hammered dulcimer joy class where we use Beethoven's Ode to Joy in 7 different variations to work on hammer control, hammer separation, hand independence, as well as arranging ideas. I have the same idea for Mountain Dulcimer Joy. There's fewer seats in that one. That one's got more in it this time. I have a hand separation tune that I wrote called First Snow, and my modes on the hammer dulcimer class, how to use 2 patterns to be able to find all the tunes you're looking for. So that's just my list, but there's over 50 instructors. And let's see here. This list are supporters and things. But if you click on the register button, it'll take you to the registration instructions and all the list of workshops by instrument. And there are hammer dulcimer workshops or mountain dulcimer workshops, and there are several other instrument workshops: ukulele, autoharp, bass, bowed psaltery, claw, hammer, banjo, fiddle, guitar, harp, mandolin, and penny whistle. I have taught dulcibro at this festival, but decided not to do that this time. I did that for 2 festivals. This is a pretty they've Katie and the team have put a lot of work into making this work for us as a community, both for students and for faculty. The other thing is the weekend of the festival, we will also have concerts. So February 4th, a week from tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, February 5th, that's the night that I'm playing. February 6th, which is my birthday, and I'm not playing. And then February 7th. So this time there's going to be 4 days of concerts and a ridiculously simple price. 60 plus musicians, $25 over 4 nights. It's just that you can't get a better deal than this for you. And because that's such a low price, that's a good opportunity to tip the festival and tip your favorite performers or tip all the performers. So as you think about it, and you can get a t-shirt to have something to remember it by and publicize there has been a different design of the t-shirt for each one of the festivals. This will be the third one. This starts a whole season of virtual festivals. Um, I know that I'm not a part of all of them. I am a part of the Walnut Valley Festival in Winfield is doing an online virtual festival. So I guess the first step in this, how do I prepare for a festival, is research them. So let me put that as the first thing. Where are the festivals? How do I access them? So that's the first thing, is research the festivals. Um, let me see the best WV Fest. The Walnut Valley Festival. Now I'm going to share my screen again when I get there. So the Walnut Valley Festival in Winfield, Kansas is normally a September festival. And I don't know if it's going to be in person or not this year. We'll have to see. But one of the things they decided to do after doing they called it the 48 and a half the last year virtual festival, is come up with spring hands-on workshops in March. And as that opens, there we go. So on the weekend of Saturday and Sunday, March 20th and 21st, there are workshops for family, youth and family, special interest, banjo, auto harp, fiddle, fingerstyle guitar, flat pick guitar, mandolin, ukulele, songwriting, mountain dulcimer, and I'm teaching hammer dulcimer workshops. So you click on the instrument of your choice, and you can see all the instructions for how to do that. I'm teaching 4 workshops at this festival about using the hammer dulcimer, especially for playing the kind of music that happens at that festival. And that's at wvfest.com. When you get there, you can just click on the tab at the beginning. So that's the March one that I'm taking part in. I know there's some other March ones as well. I think the None Such Dulcimer Club in the United Kingdom is doing their workshop around in their spring fling, is I think usually in March. There's one in Albany, New York that we used to be called the DAA Festival. I'm not sure what they're calling it this year, but that was always at the beginning of March. So this is kind of workshop time. In April, I'm teaching at the Pocono Dulcimer Festival. Dulcimer Festival 2020, 21. Let's see what that turns up. Yeah, they came up with a whole new festival page, but it's not coming up in Google right now. But I can give you the club page. Let me share my screen here. But that's in the April 22nd and 25th. And I love their logo here. Somebody asked this week, what's the correct number of dulcimers? And I think the answer is n+1, which I just love. And then the Berkeley Dulcimer Gathering is taking place in May. And there are just several other festivals that are happening throughout the year. So keep your eyes open for the festival. So that's the first thing, is to research what's going on in the festival. And then register. Don't put that off, because if you put it off, you might get shut out. That's actually what happens to some of the classes on the Quarantine Festival. I gotta stop sharing. Sorry. There were people got ready for the launch, and it was like trying to get your Cabbage Patch doll for your baby on the Friday after Thanksgiving or something like that. That's old school, I know. But there's a rush, and some people are very disappointed because they don't get the class they were looking for. And I actually heard from several people. The first time I've heard from several people that said, I couldn't get into your class. Can you teach it again sometime? And that's sad for them and gratifying for me, because I know they're really interested, and there's a lot of people interested. And now I can start to think about when could I offer that particular workshop again. But make sure you research ahead of time for the classes you're interested in. But also the things, I mean, you can choose. Jim, you're also asking, are these festivals at the Dulcimer Player News website, which I think is a thank you for that, dpnews.com. There are two places to find a lot of links at DP News, which is the Dulcimer Players News. And if you're interested in dulcimers, this is a wonderful. This is the thing been going on since 1975. The magazine dedicated, quarterly magazine dedicated to people who play both kinds of dulcimers and to supporting the community. And I know of no better way to be connected. They have added this wonderful festival directory for all the festivals. So yeah, this is a great place to look at them. And you can see several that are planned up all the way through January of 2022. So that is a place to keep in touch. There is another place, and when everything Dulcimer used to be the place to do this. If you go to Dulcimer Crossing, the website I co-own, you can see we keep a list of events on this. Right now, we're going through some changes, but right now you can find a list of events coming up on the right-hand side. But if you click the events tab, you can see we have, in addition to our live event schedule, we have a list of all the festivals that people have asked to have listed here with links to everything else. And right now we got 36 pages of those. That's some historical as well as going into the future, all the way up through well, on the first page up through September. So this is Dulcimer Crossing in the events page is another place to find the festivals that are coming up so you can make your plan. I was talking with someone yesterday, and what was very interesting was their comment that I think we'd been in the pandemic March, April, so that was 6 and 4 more is 10. We'd been, when it got to the quarantine festival, I think we'd been in the pandemic for like 12 weeks, and somebody had already told me they'd gone to 10 workshops or 10 festivals that would never have made it to any of them because this made it possible. Been in festivals with people from Japan to Germany in the same workshops, and that's all pretty cool. So let's go back to our strategies. One, choose workshop. We should probably choose instrument first. Which instruments are you going to work on? Choose workshops. Choose teacher. So the next thing is, as you're looking through, is this a workshop? Do I have an instrument in my house that I don't know how to play? This might be the thing that gets me off a go. Just gets me moving forward and leaning in the right direction. It might equip me. It might launch me into a new orbit. So taking an instrument we haven't played very much and gaining some skills in a 1 hour workshop or a 1 hour 15 or even 1 hour and 30, those get long on Zoom, but different festivals have their plans differently. So choose your instrument, or it could be the one that you love the most. You can't do anything, or it's brand new and you just want to get all that you can. Do that. Or choose a teacher, because there might be a teacher you've always wanted to learn, you're curious about, you want to know, and they have never come where you are, or they're so far away from you you think you'll never see them. That's a good strategy too. When you get closed out of a workshop, I've heard so many people say, I never would have taken so and so's class and it was wonderful, and now I can't wait to see the next festival where they're teaching, because I would not have chosen them. They were an unknown quantity to me. So one of the strategies would be to say, I want to learn on this instrument. Lots of workshops. How many can I take? I mean, that's the other thing, is pace yourself. You got to know your own capability and how long can you sit in a chair and look at a computer before it just kind of all glazes over. Even the week-long festivals that happen when we can be in person, there are people who will say, I I took too many workshops. There's like 5 sessions or 5 or 6 sessions a day, and some people will take 6 week-long workshops and they're running to get to the workshop. There's no time to practice and they're just frazzled. So the first year they do it that way. The second year they come back and they say, I'm going to take 4 and have some periods off. That's perfect. But know yourself and pace yourself so that you can take advantage of your energy level, your focus, the time you have available in your schedule, your resources, all those things going together. But as you prepare, then what's going to be, how is this going to work? Typically, in an online workshop, these happen on Zoom. So let me just put on Zoom. You'll need to have the capability to have a computer with a camera to fully participate with a visual as well as audio, to have a computer with a camera, whether or not the camera's in the computer or it's an external camera, and some sound. You're going to have a way for the sound that's on your room to get into the computer and go to the other people so that you can speak and ask questions. In most online workshops, you will not be playing so that other people can hear you. Now, some people are frustrated at that because they don't feel like they're not able to demonstrate the problem they're having. And even in an in-person workshop, that can be difficult in a room of 30 people. The thing that many people say they love about virtual workshops is when I'm trying to figure something out and the teacher keeps talking in a live in-person workshop, everybody else can't hear what the teacher's saying, and it's really annoying. And teachers are always saying, please don't play while I'm talking, because then I have to talk louder. I'm teaching all day, strains my voice. I may not have a voice at the end of the day. First thing, from the teacher standpoint. From the student standpoint, I can't hear anything because everybody's dinking on their instrument, wherever it is. And you think you're doing it so quiet that no one can hear you, but you add up 30 so quiet no one can hear you. Everybody can hear everything, and they're distracted. The beauty of a workshop like this is no one can hear you dinking around. And so you can actually try things while the teacher is talking. However, most of us can't put our attention in more than one place or 3 places at the same time. So if I'm trying to think through my thought and think where the instrument is and the teacher's talking, I might end up missing what the teacher just said and then having to raise my hand and ask a question that's already been answered. That's a little embarrassing. Having been the person to do that, yes. Jim, you're saying at the first quarantine you took 11 workshops per day. There were 12 options. Oh my goodness. Yeah. That was you jumped right in. So you will be muted. Either the instructor can do that and mute everybody's camera, everybody's microphones, and the instructor has the option to let you turn your microphone on when you have a question. The other thing is, when you have a question, it's really not good etiquette or helpful to just hit your space bar, unmute your microphone, and just interrupt and say, I've got a question, and then launch into your question. As the teacher is looking at a Zoom screen with 30 little windows on it, and somebody starts talking, and especially if it goes over onto more than one screen, I have no idea who's talking as the teacher. It's really helpful to identify yourself and then I can scan through and see not only whose mouth is moving, because sometimes when the sound's off, people move their mouths, but whose mouth is moving, and I have an idea of what name I'm looking for. Speaking of that, it's really useful to identify yourself. Let's see what I say here. Pace yourself. It's really fun to identify, rename your window. your screen, that's a something that everybody can do in their Zoom screen, is you can rename it. It'll pop up with whatever the name of your account is. It's really not helpful when it just says blank iPad or iPad 3.0 or something like that. I have no idea who that is, and I don't have any idea where in the world they are. So I will put my name, Steve Uhlberg, and then I'll put hyphen San Mateo, California. And then people can have an idea. And then we get to celebrate who's here from everywhere. And sometimes people from far-flung places find out they're there with their neighbor, or they didn't know they had a neighbor interested in dulcimers that lives so close to them. So the other ways of weaving the web of the community. Okay, Jim, you're saying is this the current DPN? I haven't received that one. So I'm waiting to get it, being here on the West Coast. But Joe Collins did an article about what students like and dislike about online festivals. Very cool. Page 54 to 55. So subscribe and get that, and take a look at that. So identify yourself and your location. Make sure you're muted. If you've unmuted to speak, mute yourself again when you're done, so that you don't have the vacuum cleaner or the dog barking or the television going on, or someone asks you what you want for lunch and we all hear it. That's not helpful for the learning environment. We don't need to know those things. You need to know those things. We don't need to know those things. So in Zoom, you also have the option of raising your hand. I always tell people you can there's a reactions where you clap like this, that puts up a yellow hand in the corner, or there's a button between the participants window and the chat window. When you, at the bottom of your screen, if you click and open up participants window, you can see everyone who's there. Open up the chat window. Sometimes the instructor will be writing things there. Sometimes people will be writing questions there. That's have those open so you can see those. If you're on an iPad or a phone, the chat takes over the window. So you're going to have to do a lot more toggling. Just know that the iPad can be a useful tool, but you're going to have to, it's not going to be the same as a computer, and you may not be able to see as much because the screen is a lot smaller than many computer screens. But there's a button there that says raise hand. And when that happens, a little blue hand goes up. It's got the hand, the fingers and the thumb like this, like you're raising your hand in class. In the participants window, for me as the instructor, it also jumps the person that raised their hand up to the top of the queue, and it leaves those hands up in order. So I know as the teacher which one to call on first. This was the first question, this was second, because I may not have been looking at them when they were raising their hand. And then you can lower your hand if somebody else answered your question, or the teacher can lower your hand. So that's a way to I do not like Facebook adding things in when I'm trying to do something. Okay, so raise your hand, and mute yourself, raise your hand. Okay, now the other thing is you can wave wildly in the screen, but if there's 30 faces in the screen, I may not know I may not see the wildly thing, but that's another option of what you can do. Where should your camera, your studio set up? The question of how should your studio be set up? My studio is set up, let's see, and this is more important for teachers than it is for students. But if you want to have some of the same things, you can. Let me move to a minicam. So I'm now using the camera that's built into my computer. But I also have the camera that I was using for the live stream before, which is a camera that's further away and you can see the instruments, you can see the room, and I can just turn and play and demonstrate. It's not the best view if I'm playing on the hammer dulcimer. And so what I would do is use my overhead camera like this, make sure my head's not in the way, and then use that camera. This is with many cameras, the software that I have here, I have a forward view and the overhead view. And then this one is the overhead view for playing with a mountain dulcimer. Oh, let's grab the electric one just because that's fun. And this is the player's view. So I can see you, you can see me, we can talk, and you can see what I'm saying, but you can also see what I'm doing with my fingers. So that's the camera view I will use when I'm teaching. You don't necessarily need that as the student, although if you do have that and you have a question and you can demonstrate it, it's real easy for me as the teacher to see your view and be able to talk to you about what's going on. The one thing the caveat is, be certain as you're doing that you have the camera facing in the direction so it looks like what it actually looks like. There in Zoom, there's a mirror function. In Facebook and Instagram, there's a mirror function. You play the thing and it looks mirrored. So guitar players who are playing like this, when you see them on Facebook Live, you can always tell that they didn't click that thing because they're always playing backwards. And any words that they're wearing are also written backwards. So there is that kind of a thing to think about. So you need video and audio. It is possible to tune in with just a phone and listen and talk, but the thing is you can't see the visual stuff. And sometimes the people that are on the phones do the most interrupting in a class because they can't see what's going on. It's easier to have more questions. And as the classroom manager, the teacher, that can be the most challenging because there's a piece missing in the puzzle. That said, sometimes the internet connections or the weather or something like that can make it difficult for your bandwidth in your internet connection as a student to have enough going on, or enough in order for what's going on in the class to get to you and your questions to get to me. So it may be that you can make your connection work better by not using video and just hearing audio, and then turning on the video when you have a question. So you're going to have to know that about yourself, about your own setup. Now, if you have a camera, where should it face? It is helpful for me to see your face as a teacher when you have questions when you're speaking. But if you're trying to demonstrate something and you're off camera doing this, I really am at a loss for how to tell you what to do. So if you have a camera, this is the one in the computer, it can tilt. That's not the one where you're looking at, so you don't see the tilting. But if I do this, I might be able to tilt down and show you something different. I can tilt up if there's a question up there. But having the camera aimed at your instrument, and with private students, Jim, you will put the camera over your shoulder so I can see what you're doing, and then I can quickly say, "Oh, let's go down one more course, or let's go down another box, or let's move over here." And so that helps me, especially in private one-to-one situations. There are some sound setups that have most of what that has to do with when you're going out. But if you're trying to play music and share with me, and you have echo cancellation and there's a lot of settings in Zoom, it's designed to be a speaking software for conferencing for people, and it's designed to pick up sounds from everywhere. And if someone else is speaking over here, it cuts out the instructor. That's the other reason you're muted, because if you're unmuted and you speak, the Zoom processor wants to go listen to you when the teacher is saying something. You might have been saying to the dog, "I'll take you out in a minute." But now the whole Zoom universe hears is, "I'll take you out in a minute." And they don't hear whatever the instructor was saying at the time. So that's the other reason you're muted. But the sound can be wonky. And so when I'm teaching, I'm always wearing headphones so that if anything comes from your end to me, it doesn't go into my teaching universe. It just goes into my head. And the best results that I've had with people is when both of us have microphones and headphones, because I don't hear me coming through your computer coming back to me from your computer. And that's where there's an echo, and the latency, the time lag is really present. So if we both have headphones or earbuds or something like that on, that minimizes some issues. It doesn't fix everything, but it minimizes some issues with us being so far apart and having to get the sound to travel that distance. Now, there are a lot of in my private students or private classes, and in my 6-week workshops that I produce, one of the benefits that students get is an archive of the class so they can go back and review. In the large festival workshop world, we don't do that. The what students are paying for is very they'll say affordable. It's very minimal for what's happening, and to get that plus a an hour-long video of what the teacher is instructing, that the teacher now has no control over where it's going to be used and who's going to see it and how many people are shown it for free, takes the intellectual property of the teacher, and for a pittance, look at it that way, then it can go everywhere and they're not in charge of it anymore. I understand there are a lot of people who like the review and the video, but in the large festivals, that's not happening. I'm not recording it for a backup. I'm not recording it for an archive, and I'm not recording it to share, nor do students have the opportunity to record and share. Now, in a private lesson, I can give a student permission to record the lesson and they'll have that as a review. But in the large festivals, that doesn't happen. So that's why you don't take too many workshops. You focus so you can remember and you have your mind ready to go. Exactly. Let's see. Then some people, the other piece of the setup is some people have their music. I have my iPad here, and they'll have their music in Fourscore or some sheet program that lets you read PDFs. And so when the handouts are sent out, they'll put them in their iPad or device and use this as their songbook. And so they'll do that and then have the computer as the way to be in class. Some people will print everything out and staple them together and label them which class and put them in order. I mean, doing that is really helpful on the day of the festival because your anxiety is going to go up a lot. So being as organized as you can to come to class will help you. It's what I have to do for me. There are 10 workshop options a day or something like that. I'm teaching, or 12, and I'm teaching 10 of them each. I don't know how many there are. Now I'm teaching 10 workshops at the Quarantine Festival this time, and I'm teaching 5 a day. There might be 7 slots or something. Anyway, so I have to organize all that stuff so that we're not wasting time and I'm not looking for a handout that's missing. I put together packets that all the students get, and that's the packet I use to teach, and I keep them in order so that I can get to the next one. So your preparatory time for that will be good. It's also good to have a comfortable setup that has posture that will not hurt you. It's a comfortable chair. In between classes, get up and move your body. Please do that. Take care of your fanny fluff, as Larry Conger likes to call it. Get up and fluff your fanny a little bit. I always imagine a whole bunch of chickens when he says that. And make sure you have sustenance. Some people keep a little thing of snacks, just something that'll keep them going, keep their blood sugar going. And then have fun. That's the final thing, is have fun. Most instructors will also have a way for you to contact them. I always say workshops come with support. So my email contact is there. So when you have an aha experience after a workshop, I want to hear about it. I just heard one from my 6-week classes that came yesterday. It was so exciting. There's also people who have an oh no experience of, I thought I understood it. As soon as the workshop was over, I can't remember it. And we'll go back and forth, and I'll say, now, what do you remember? And they'll say it. And I said, you're remembering that right. You're just this much, you're missing this connector. And we'll snap it in. They'll go, oh, that's it. Or they'll say, they'll have an understanding, but it's not quite right. So then we can adjust it and flip it around so the pieces fit. So make sure that you keep track of those ways to get in touch with the instructor. Sometimes the aha experience won't come for a week or a month. And as instructor, let me tell you, I love hearing about them whenever they show up, because I know some plants take longer to grow. Like 2 years does an elephant gestate before it's born. That's where some of my good things come from. Anyway, friends, we're getting to, it's almost time for me to start teaching my Music Together class. So I'm going to need to sign off today. But I want to thank you for your attention. As always, if you have questions, you can write them to me at steve@dulcimercrossing.com. If you have suggestions for live stream topics, you can do that. If you want to sign up for the Quarantine Festival, here is that is where the workshops still are. They will be open open until Saturday. This Saturday. Facebook did it again. I put a period in. Concerts are open until concert tickets are available up to the concert time. So there you have it, friends. That's what I've got for you today. I will look forward to seeing you next week and hearing from you if you have anything. Thanks for joining us. As always, we want to help you grow. We're trying to help you bridge the gap between what you know and where you want your music to grow. So, bye-bye.